Hello and welcome to episode 103 of PubShorts titled Learning to Fly. My name is Dr. KK. I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinca and Inago, and I have with me Tony, who is a Pink Floyd fan, but maybe not of this particular song. Hi, Tony.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony O'Rourke, VP for Partnerships here at Inago. I am a Pink Floyd fan, but this isn't necessarily one of my favourite songs by them. So this episode is, like all episodes we do, is named after a song. And this is a song by Pink Floyd called "Learning to Fly." Why is it called "Learning to Fly"? Well, it's because the references around how AI assistance is in itself. AI assistance in research and in peer review is learning to fly. It's lifting off, but lifting off tentatively.
Yeah.
So we're exploring large studies on LLM feedback. We're looking at a new content-focused detection tool called Coconuts. We're looking at Silverchair's Future of Peer Review report, and also some practical experiments: what works, what doesn't work, and how reviewers may eventually adopt AI tools.
Excellent summary of what we are about to cover, and let's start with the first story from NEJM AI. It's an original article. I think this is related to something that that was presented at the Peer Review Congress 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Can large language models provide useful feedback on research papers? A large-scale empirical analysis. So the paper explores whether large language models like GPT-4 can offer valuable feedback on research papers. Tony, it evaluates GPT-4's feedback against human feedback. So you have a comparison across various scientific journals and conferences, and results show significant overlap between GPT-4 and human feedback, with many users finding GPT-4's feedback helpful. And the study highlights the potential of AI to assist in peer review, especially when human feedback is delayed. So that's the main sort of, I think, the NEJM AIs, the people who presented, was to decrease the turnaround time. So from what seemed like 46 days, if I'm not mistaken, it can go down to approximately a week, which is an incredible sort of leap in terms of efficiency. And I think I'm all for it, and I think I would like more original research in being conducted with maybe the newer models to compare against human review. And there can always be, as I think Tony, you mentioned in the last episode, there can always be a AI review alongside human reviewers, so that can help guide the entire process. So your thoughts on it, Tony?
I have no particular thoughts on this article. I just want to comment though on the fact that how a brand as established and important as the New England Journal of Medicine is how fantastic they have a journal that specifically looks at the use of AI within medical research. I think they should be applauded for taking that quite bold move. I think it's only in their second year, but it's already created quite a stir within the whole medical research space. But no, I agree. There is an overlap between LLMs and human feedback, and it has to be tracked and monitored.
All right, so moving on to an archive paper. So I think I'll open the PDF submission as well. So this is titled Coconuts, Concentrating on Content While Neglecting Uninformative Textual Styles for AI-Generated Peer Review Detection. That's quite a mouthful, but at least it's a memorable keyword. So the main researcher's argument is that current AI content detectors, Tony, rely too much on style and not much on substance, and that's not good enough, because a review sounds smooth does not mean that it is AI generated, as opposed to an AI generated reviews with human induced errors, for example. So the research team built a new benchmark called Coconuts, and this is detailed in this research paper. And I'll scroll to the first confusion matrix. Yeah, I'll stop here. So this benchmark is to test how well detectors can separate style from actual content design. The data set is huge, over 300,000 examples, and from a
Wow.
data set that I think you will be very familiar with, I think it is from these conference papers, computer science and machine learning related, nevertheless, but still a huge data set, and covers 6 ways humans and AI can collaborate on writing a review. So wait, let me just go back to this. Yeah, they did not treat AI generated as a single thing. They broke it down into polished, mixed, and fully machine related. This is that confusion matrix, as you see, 3 by 3 matrix. So mix AI and human. So human and AI, and there's a possibility of a mix. And this ternary classification makes way more sense than binary labels, as per the researcher's explanation. And they have also built a detector called Coco Det, which is trained to focus on content, not to polish, not AI use in the context of AI, I mean, content polishing. And this detector uses a multitask learning with one main and three support tasks to help it learn context. And in their tests, LLMs and off the shelf detectors did not do well, but Coco Det beat all of them by a huge margin with over 98% F1 score, which is a combination score for precision and recall. Basically, high quality outputs and very low false positive. So that's a lot of stuff to detect. I want your thoughts on. Sorry, lots of stuff to sort of go through. What are your thoughts on it so far?
I don't know what to say. I think this is an example of an article that sort of defies my ability to process high volumes of information early in the morning. Oh, listen, these sorts of this sort of research needs to be encouraged. As we said before, yes, AI is going to be used increasingly in peer review, and we're going to talk about that in some of the reviewer views of this later on, and experiments and research like this only validates how AI should be used, and it's clearly it's getting better in terms of its role in peer review.
Right. So the main argument, I guess you agree with that, that the substantial, sorry, a detector's ability to identify substance being created by AI as opposed to style being polished or improved by AI is an important sort of differentiator here, and that is what this content detector. I think a few weeks ago we covered another sort of research like this, where the false positives, the AI content detectors have been known to be having a high error rate or very large percentage, unacceptable percentage of false positives. So that research showed that by identifying the sort of idiosyncrasies or patterns within each language model, you can detect it. Now this one takes sort of takes a stab at it from a different sort of an angle and looking at substance alone, and that is also very low in false positives.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way to look at it, and we need, as in, a lot of AI related assistance would also require whether the human has the human oversight has actually been put in place. So from that
Yeah.
point of view, this is very important.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about our own responsible AI movement. One of the things that universities have told us very clearly is they expect their students at every level, whether it's undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, to be transparent about how they're using AI in their work. They're not saying, or in many cases, they're not discouraging it, but they just want transparency, and they want the same kind of transparency as they would get with a plagiarism report or any other kind of reference analysis. They just need to be open and honest about how those tools are being used, and for researchers and students to be aware that no matter how well they might try and hide its use, there are tools out there that will increasingly find out and detect whether AI is being used.
Mm.
So researchers need to be careful.
Right. Now, moving on to the next story, it's a report published by Silverchair, the future of peer review. It came out early September, and it somehow flew under our radar, Tony. So it's a long report, and there's a lot of useful content from it. So I'm going to try to read some of my highlights. So it's maps the state of peer review in 2025, and it's probably to coincide with the peer review week and where change is needed. It specifies the findings draw on ScholarOne polls, platform metrics, and scholar sector research. And the some of the interesting finding that is mentioned is that 17% of papers contain some amount of AI content, and that's mentioned here. 17% of research was found to contain, and early studies also reveal that AI-generated review summaries overlap with human reviewer comments by about 30 to 40%. Now that's also a flag, and then transparency is also required. And the core sort of argument in this article, if I were to understand it, is that the sort of gray area between what is editorial screening, what is research integrity, and what is peer review, that is very gray, and these have many overlaps. And what we need are AI systems that sort of cover all of it, and with the human firmly in the middle. So this
Yeah.
would be my summary, and obviously there's talks about screening tools for preprints as well, which is also a very important thing that is recognized as part of the review, and different types of peer review. Yeah, I was surprised to know that blockchain-based review has been tried, but it's a failed experiment, and it
Right.
was something that I was interested in. But anyway, so these are some of the overarching things that I found. So your thoughts on it, Tony, so far?
Only my surprise that only 17% of papers was found to contain some AI text. I suppose it depends on
Right. Yeah.
what level, when those papers were produced. I'm sure if they ran that same analysis this year, they'd find the percentage to be higher.
Right. So this pie chart is also interesting. So this one. So one thing I think the last time we looked at a research paper that analyzed the abstracts in I think PubMed. If I'm not mistaken, 23% was the number. And remember, abstracts likely have more AI generated content or AI
Yeah.
assisted content because abstracts are, after all, a summary of the research paper. And it's a AI is a very good, I mean, to use AI to do this is much more sort of sensible. Now, when peer in the survey, when peer reviewers were asked which of the following changes would have the biggest impact on your work as a peer reviewer, the majority suggested automated integrity checks, and the second largest, which was 50.7%, was automated integrity checks, and 23.4% respondents said that compensation for peer reviews was something that would change. But AI review assistants and everything were relatively low. About 10% of the reviewers thought that that would help. Do you Are you surprised with these?
I'm not at all surprised. I mean, we know from our own experience that AI tools are being increasingly licensed by publishers to help them run their integrity checks and other checks. And we also know by publishers that the reviewer crisis is not going away, and compensation for reviewers is something that a lot of publishers are thinking about.
Right. So this spotlight section is what I tried to summarize earlier, that the sort of overlap between peer review and editorial review and research integrity. So this entire thing is considered to be one sort of a thing with overlaps, obviously shared responsibilities. A very interesting read for anybody who is interested in research
Yeah.
integrity or peer review or AI in the context of
Yeah,
academic
and
work.
I think Silverchair are doing a great job in terms of positioning themselves as a thought leader
Mm.
in the use of AI in the scholarly workflow and their scholarly chain. Um, so yeah, I would, as you say, I would encourage anyone interested in AI and peer review to read this.
Right, moving on to a very interesting article, The World's Laziest Peer Reviewer. It is from Reese
Great
Richard.
article.
Yeah, Reese Richardson's blog. So it explores this article explores a case of questionable peer review practices. The so if approximately 375 peer review documents were downloaded from BMC journals as part of this research, study, and the focus is on prognostic signature studies in gene expressions, which are considered to be low quality studies. And Tony, interestingly enough, these are a lot of these studies are being submitted as into preprint servers, and some other things that one needs to check in terms of quality, in terms of whether these are acceptable, include these
Yeah,
types of studies. And
yeah,
so what was found was that some reviews seem to be copied from templates offering little substance, and an Italian oncologist called Alessandro Rizzo is frequently cited in these reviews. So this may be a review mill operation as per the sort of analysis, and where reviews are recycled, and the issue highlights failures in peer review quality control by publishers, which also sort of alerts to the fact that there needs to be, because of the several problems being there in the current existing peer review systems and AI assisted, at least things that can flag template submissions, and maybe reviewer mill operations can be useful for publishers. So
yeah,
your thoughts
yeah,
on
yeah.
this? You found this
Oh,
interesting?
this article highlights a really quite, I think, important issue in terms of the level of peer review that is applied is not consistent. Some journals will have some. Once I just said journals, some publications, some sources have extremely rigorous processes. Others have a much lighter touch. You know, whatever you do, there needs to be some kind of control in terms of, is the right kind of questions being asked, or are the questions being asked at all? I know there was always an issue around things, for example, like conference proceedings, for example, which don't necessarily go through the same level of rigor, at least historically, that journal articles would in terms of peer review. So I think they're right to question it.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to I think the second last main story. So this is another preprint submitted on in archive, and it is titled "AI and the Future of Academic Peer Review." So it is an overview of, and it highlights the issues with the current peer review system, if leading to inconsistent and biased reviews. And it basically the basic hypothesis is that LLMs can assist with reviewer matching, review drafting, and detecting obvious errors or methodological flaws, and hence it should be considered. And it also talks about hallucinations, and it probably the best way to explain it is that the way that the research paper tackles it, I think I'll open it and show it to you. So there are questions, that there are concerns regarding AI. So hallucination and biases are a concern related to AI. So the objection for using AI is listed, as well as the response, in terms of why human beings also have biases. Human beings also are not as sort of rigorous in terms of. So there are some sort of arguments, or like rebuttals given to it, and there are
It mirrors the AI experience.
yes, and so there are these are the other things: novelty and recognition, homogenization of research. So that's also tackled like this: human oversight, the need for it, the de-skilling, and the confidentiality of, if suppose you use AI, are we losing confidential information, intellectual property rights, and everything. Then the efficiency objection, and I think a couple of more: loss of trust, and the second last one was vulnerability to gaming. So this one, Tony, I don't know, maybe you have not thought about it too much, but if you employ AI assisted systems, they can be gamed by bad actors, and they need to be protected, just like how, let's say, a software vendor like Microsoft needs to be constantly, or Amazon needs to be constantly on the sort of lookout for potential problems in the code, and to patch them to prevent bad actors from using
Yeah,
it. So that kind of a thing also needs to happen in the context of AI peer review systems, and that is what a few of my now acquaintances from Carnegie Mellon are focusing on, and we will cover some of it in a related scholarly kitchen post very shortly. So your thoughts on it, as a
I suppose just relating to that last comment, if researchers, if anything is going to use some form of computer assisted approach, it's going to be subject to gamification in some way. So how do you manage that? How do you control that? How do you make sure that gamification isn't actually affecting the outputs?
right. Let's give it. It's a wonderful read. I think, Tony, I would like you to take some time out to read this. It's an easy, sort of relatively easy paper in the context of such
Thank you.
archives that,
So
that we
I need easy.
have. And I think the final one, it is a positive story
Yeah,
in the context of peer review.
yeah,
More researchers are warming to AI's potential in peer review. So researchers are increasingly open to AI's role. I think this is a story that I think, Tony, you shared. So
I
this is
did.
based on an IOP publishing survey, which shows divide in opinions. 41% believe that AI will positively impact peer review, up from last year, which was up from last year, and 32% of researchers have used AI in their reviews. Many are unhappy if AI writes or augments peer review reports, and 42% feel that they can detect AI written reports. I mean, that's something that I would question, because human beings have a tendency to claim that they can do more than what they actually can. Interesting thoughts. So you do you have any observations with these numbers?
Well, first of all, IOP. Those of you who don't know, IOP is the Institute of Physics. And full disclosure, I worked there for a number of years. Um, uh, I always have long had an ambition to be sort of, I won't say pioneering, but an early adopter of new technologies. They were one of the first ones to have electronic journals, for example. They're one of the first publishers to digitize their entire archive of scientific journals content. Um, and they appreciate, as much as any publisher, the increasing challenges of finding reviews and having consistently high quality reviews. So surveys like this, I think, will simply and reinforce how important AI is becoming, increasingly important. AI is becoming in peer review. And that comment about 42% believe they could accurately detect AI written peer review report on a manuscript they'd co-authored.
Mm-hmm.
That will only increase because increasingly AI is being used within the peer review process, as we know.
Right.
The question there shouldn't be, eventually it might be 100% to detect it, but it's how it's being used and how and who and what guardrails are in place to ensure that what the AI is generating, it reflects the view of the reviewer, and accurately reflects the paper.
Interesting points. All right, so we can move on to quick hits. So there are two, both from the Scholarly Kitchen. The first one, peer review in transition. Helen King and Christopher Leonard on AI and the future of peer review. So it's an interesting article. Again, it's moderated by Ruhi, and so there are questions basically. And Helen and Christopher were asked to offer insights on potential AI impacts, and Chris emphasizes AI's role in filtering AI generated content. That's the main thing that Chris Leonard sees as a role in terms of AI. Whereas Helen suggests rebranding peer review to restore trust and maybe using some AI assistance in the process as well. So both sort of, I think, agree on the general AI's potential to sort of enhance quality assurance and to improve fraud detection, especially in the context of research integrity. It's an interesting viewpoint article. I was surprised to see Chris's stance on AI being used to detect AI content, and so that's an interesting sense. So your thoughts on this, Tony?
Nothing particularly on this. I've got a great deal of time for both Helen and Chris. They're both great thinkers in this
Mm-hmm.
space. Chris gave a very interesting talk at the recent ALPSP conference in Manchester, which I attended, where he talked about the role of peer review. He clearly has some very interesting and I think constructive ideas.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is one that I hinted at, Tony. This is by Nihar Shah, whose research and whose team's research, I would say, we have covered across 103 episodes. Several of these archive research papers. A lot of these conference, AI assisted peer review in conferences are from the team from Carnegie Mellon and led by Nihar. So this one, you would probably smile at this. A guest post, may the AI be with science. So he's a Star Wars nerd, and he in fact his peer review congress presentation had a lot of Star Wars references, and he ended up wearing a Darth Vader mask halfway through, and it was the best sort of most sort of memorable presentation in the conference itself. So as you might imagine, he is talking about AI in the context of peer review and academic research. So his main argument is that AI can help with tasks like error detection and reviewer assignment, but there's a need for robust evaluation to ensure quality of AI assistance. Human judgment, he claims, is vital to avoid biases and maintain diversity in research directions. AI
Yeah.
systems should be red team. So this is the point that I was trying to make. He is focusing on research, and he calls it red teaming. So apparently in Microsoft, this red teaming, blue teaming concept arose from Microsoft, which once a software is made, two teams are set, one to sort of break the system, and to what the red team is supposed to, I think, protect the system from the blue team breaking it, as far as I understand. Nihar, if you're listening in, if I've made a mistake, forgive me. So he's talking about, Nihar is talking about AI systems should be red team to find vulnerabilities and improve security. And in research, AI can accelerate discovery, but presents risks like generating fake papers. So he finally concludes, authors should verify AI outputs and take responsibility of their research. I think it's one of the most sort of,
Yeah.
I mean, very good analogy, and the Star Wars analogy is very, very nice, and you can see all sorts of references here in the article, and it generally brings a smile. But most importantly, it covers a very tricky issue or very controversial issue, and gives something that readers can sort of latch onto, and makes a very valid point, which we have been trying to espouse through the responsible AI movement. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I was just going to say that what he's doing is very thoughtful and an imaginative way, and may the force be with him. Is reinforces the importance of human guardrails, and also the importance of complete transparency in terms of how AI is being used. So, congratulations to him.
So this is Tony. This is the image that I mentioned. He, this is, this is what he did. Interestingly enough, there's a little history for this. I wore such a mask for a gig. We had a superhero themed gig, and I think Darth Vader is not a superhero, but you know what? So I used this, and I played the entire gig, the bass wearing this, and
It was kind
yeah.
of like an Indian version of Slipknot.
Not really. We're just covering regular songs, but had a theme to it, so we had to dress up like this. So anyway,
But
uh,
going back to the peer review congress, you attended the peer review congress, didn't you?
yes, yes,
So how
yes.
was it?
It was excellent. As I said, I got to meet a lot of interesting minds, including Chris Leonard, Nihar Shah, and a bunch of other researchers, including people from NEJM AI. We covered, learned a lot, but most importantly, it sort of confirmed my belief in the fact that there is that sort of gray area in between research integrity and peer review, and the solutions that will win the hearts of all peer reviewers will factor both in, and would not be too sort of invasive, would let them shine by providing them assistance. That's the way I look at it, and I'm happy to confirm this belief after having talked to the brightest minds in the world in the context of AI and peer review.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good meeting.
Yep, yep. Tony, so your thoughts? We just had a peer review week, and Inago itself had a couple of, I think, a podcast and a panel discussion on it, and there were many other things, many other events and articles, as you've said. We've covered a bunch of them in this in our episode. So your thoughts on peer review week 2025?
Only to say I'm delighted that the profile of peer review week is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the audience that's engaging with it is getting larger all the time. It's such an important area. There's such mistrust at the moment within that parts of the community around the value of peer review and the use of AI in peer review, that having a week dedicated to the topic and focusing on all of those areas delivers such value, I think, for anyone involved in academic publishing, in research evaluation, and long may it continue.
Excellent. So, if anybody is watching us for the first time, where can they find all the previous 102 episodes, Tony?
Well, if you're watching it for the first time, where have you been for the previous 102 episodes, first of all? But thank you for watching this episode. All previous 102 episodes are available on our PubShorts channel on YouTube. Just search for Inago PubShorts and you'll see all previous 102 episodes there. Press the like button as you would normally do. Share it with colleagues. Send us ideas for future topics. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah. And if you want to contact me directly, you can contact me over at tonyo@inago.com.
Yeah. So, Tony, a quick correction. All the previous episodes are found on the PubShorts playlist on the Inago YouTube channel. So you can go. That's fine. Yeah. So until the next time, this is Dr. Keke signing off on behalf of everyone who helps us bring such content. We will see you in the next one, episode 104. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.